Hey, how you doing? Paul here. And it's that testimonial time. Told you we had one coming up for you. Basically, it's going to be mine. And for me, it's pretty heavy. So, but it's appropriate because of those freaking voices that crank into your head and tell you things. I started off, just so you get an idea, I was like baby of the family, mama spoiled kind of guy, or kind of kid. And I got to do pretty much what I wanted to do, and mama would help me. Well, as I got a little older, mama and I used to get into some fights. And we'd argue back and forth. And when I'm saying older, I mean older like out of the house, right? I was on my own. And we would talk. And somehow, one way or another, periodically, we'd end up in a fight. Either I'd hang up on her or she'd hang up on me. The first time that happened, I hung up on her. And I sat around and thought about it. And I thought, you know, I should probably call her back, tell her I'm sorry, you know, and to forgive me. And it couldn't have been, and this is the way these frigging voices happen. It couldn't have been 30 seconds when I had a voice cranking into my head that telling me, you don't need to do that. It's not your fault. There's no reason for you to call her up and tell her that you're sorry for something you didn't really do. It's her fault. She's the one that started it. So, I didn't. And so, you know, one thing leads to another. You forget about it, kind of like, and the next thing I know, my mom called me back. She's apologizing. She's telling me that she loves me and it's all good. You know, part of me is thinking, man, that sucks. It was my fault. But then there's that voice, cranks right back in. No, it wasn't. It wasn't your fault. See, I told you it wasn't your fault. She called you back. So it just reinforces, those voices just reinforce that crappy decision that you made. And it goes on and on and on. And as it goes on and on and on, you start to believe them. And that's by far the worst thing you can do. And so, I did it. I continued on and on. Didn't matter if she hung up or I hung up on whoever it was that was ticked off. I wasn't calling her back. Heck with her. She wants to talk, she can call me. Wasn't my fault. And that went on for quite a while. And I was in my 40s when we had another one night. So I was waiting for her to call. And like clockwork, got the phone call. Only it was my dad. And as soon as I heard his voice, I'm thinking, oh, geez, I'm in trouble. I'm 40 years old and I'm thinking, whoa, I'm in trouble. But it's those little voices kicking in going, hey, he's calling you for a reason. You're going to get a whooping. You're not going to get one, but that voice keeps cranking off, so that's what stimulates that fear that you get, right? Well, what he was calling about is that mom had some issues and they put her in the hospital and were running some tests on her and found out that she had some medical issues and they were going to have to do some procedures. And that it was pretty serious and that I probably should come visit her. So I hung up the phone and I thought, should I or should I not? And I mean, reality says, you know, don't be stupid. You need to go. But you still have those voices that's telling you, don't be a sissy. You know, stand up. Well, I ended up going down to the hospital that night, a little late. It was probably 3 o'clock in the morning by the time I got to the hospital. She was out of it. And I found out later when I made it back to my folks' house, and my dad said that they put her in a medically induced coma. So it would be easier on her heart and lungs. So I thought, okay, that's cool. I'll catch her when she gets out. It'll be no big deal. Well, the next morning they called. And when they called, they said that she had suffered a massive stroke during the night. And because of the chemically induced coma she was in, the symptoms were masked by the drugs. So they didn't even know it. So they were going to do a test to find out just, you know, how bad the stroke was. And we said we'd be in. So we go to the hospital, meet with the doctor. Doctor basically says she's brain dead. Man, it sucks. Here's your mom, the person you love more than anything in this world. And now she's brain dead? What's happening from that? I mean, you go through all those feelings again where it's like, you know, denial and all that kind of stuff, right? So the voice is going off again, you know, with, why didn't you call her? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? And the other voice is going, you didn't need to. It's no big deal. She's going to be fine. Don't worry about it. Well, basically what they did was they took her off a respirator, and within 24 hours she was dead. Never regained consciousness. I never got to talk to her. I never got to tell her I was sorry. I never got to tell her that I loved her. And that's pretty heavy to carry around with you. And I carried the feelings of the grief, the regret, and the overall pain in my heart for 15 freaking years. But as I sat there and I looked at her in the casket, I talked to her then. Big deal. It don't mean crap. She's dead. She hears you. I believe she hears you. But you don't get any response. So for 15 years, I kept getting different situations happening in my life where it hardened me more and more against people in general. I was not about to let myself become a sissy. I didn't tell my kids I loved them. The only person that ever heard that I loved them was my wife, Linda. I made sure that I told her that I loved her. Never told my dad, never told my brother, never told my kids. I figured they knew that I loved them by the way I acted. How freaking stupid is that? Right? But it's those voices cranking in your mind. Well, I'm here to tell you, it's all good now. 15 years has actually been more like 18 years, but I've been able to get past it. I've been able to forgive myself. I've been able to love myself. And I've been able to control those freaking voices that are in my mind. They don't bother me anymore. They don't control my life. I am the captain of this freaking ship, right? They're just the crew members, and they'll do what I tell them to do. That is what we want to share with you. You can do this. I cannot tell you enough or stress enough to you. I'm a common kind of guy. I'm not, as far as willpower is concerned, my willpower sucks. You know, it's kind of like if I'm going to go, say I like ice cream really well, and I can walk by the ice cream place, and I can pretty much bet that I'm probably going to go in and get some ice cream because I walk slow enough that somebody will open up the door, and I'm thinking, oh, hey, you know, fate has opened the door for me, so I need to go in and get the ice cream. So I go in and get the ice cream. Of course, after I'm done, I got the voices going, what the heck did you get the ice cream for? Like, you really need ice cream? Come on. But it's those voices. You can control them. I know you can control them because I can control them. And if I can do it, you can do it. Guarantee you can do it. But, does this sound familiar? I'm sure it does. Go ahead and read on down. Check it out. See what you think. See if you're ready to start controlling your mind. Bye-bye.